afternoon, Plant Hill fourth graders. It is time for another YouTube lesson, and this is Dr. Price. I am going to continue looking at addition with the algorithm, and so I'm going to share my screen. And let's pull this down. Don't want that yet. All right, so we're going to look at, let's go and do a new share. Sometimes with Zoom, you have to make sure you reshare your screen. So we're going to look at unbundling Bonanza, and this is found on Zearn, which is a free program online, zearn.org. So you're welcome to go and if your teacher hasn't added you to Zearn, you can definitely set up a free account yourself.
Hi there. Are you ready to subtract with me today? Let's start with this one. 142,351 minus 65,872. Start by labeling a tape diagram to represent this problem.
Okay, so a tape diagram is where, like in kindergarten, where you did part plus a part equals a whole, or if you had the whole and you went from a whole to a part and subtracted the part from the whole to get the other part. That's what a tape diagram is. So we're just looking at when you have a number here and a number here, and you can put them together and to give you a total. All right, so we're going to label this tape diagram and represent this subtraction problem using a variable for the unknown. So of course, at the beginning, I said we were working on addition, but they kind of go hand in hand. So we're working on addition and subtraction with the algorithm. Last week, it was more addition. This week, it's more subtraction. So when I am looking at a total, in subtraction, we always have a total. So our total is our biggest number, our largest number, 142,351. And I'm going to subtract the part I know, 65,872. When I subtract, that will give me the missing part, which is A. Now, when you are doing any type of subtracting problem and you see letters instead of a question mark, we can, we call that algebra, but we can replace the question mark with any letter. So that could be the letter Z or D or G. In this case, Zearn just picked A. So we're solving for A. A will be what is our answer to this subtraction problem. What is the difference? And these two added together would give us the total, because addition and subtraction go hand in hand.
Now let's work in the subtraction algorithm. Look across the top number to see if we have enough units in each column to subtract.
Okay.
We're not ready to subtract. Check each column, unbundle as needed, and then subtract.
All right, so let's talk about why we weren't ready to subtract. When we look at this, we did not have, if we had 1, I always like to look at it as candy. So if I had one piece of candy and I had two friends that wanted a piece of candy, I could not give them each a piece of candy. So I would need to borrow. And when we're talking about borrowing, we're talking about borrowing a whole group from our place value. So in this case, are there enough ones in the top number to subtract the ones in the bottom number? Absolutely not. So we will say no. So it wants us to unbundle one of the tens to prepare to subtract in the ones. So I'm going to my neighbor. The ones are going to go to their neighbor in the tens column, and they're going to borrow, but they're not going to borrow one. They're going to borrow an entire 10 because this stands for 5 tens and this stands for 7 tens. So we are going to borrow. So if I borrow 10 from 50, because 5 10s, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. That's going to leave me with 4 10s. So if I add a 10 to this, so when I add, I'm going to, let me do a new share in case you guys can't see this. So when I add a 10 to a 1, now I'm going to get 11. So there's the 10, and we're going to add it to the 1. So I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to share again. So we're going to make this an 11. And we didn't just make an 11 magically. We borrowed the 10 from that 5. Excuse me. So now we're looking at this column. It's not in Zern. We're not going to go ahead and answer it yet. We're going to work all the way across to see if we can still borrow or if it's needed. So in this case, I have 4 pieces of candy, or 40, because we're 4 10s. And I want to give 70 friends a piece. Can I do that? No, no way. I can't do that. I can't give 70 friends a piece of candy if all I have is 40. So we're going to say no. So now we're going to unbundle. Now I'm going to my hundreds friends to borrow. And I am going to borrow 1 whole 100. So now I have 2 hundreds. And I'm going to add my 10 10s because that's what we're going to do here. 10 plus 4 would be 14. I do believe that's what it wants us to put. Sometimes I could be wrong. I think I should just put the 10 there. 10. Nope, let's try 14. Sometimes with Zern, if you're not just perfect, yep, 14. So I added the 10 plus the 4. It will count it wrong even though you think you're right. And what you're thinking is really right, but it's just the way it wants it put in there. So now we have a 2. Can I have 2 pieces of candy and minus 8? Can I have 2 pieces of candy and give 8 friends? Absolutely not. So if you think of it that way, it makes your brain go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Can't do that. So no. So we're going to move on. And we're now going to borrow from the 1,000 spot. So 2,000 minus a whole 1,000 is 1,000. And when I add this 10 here, because it's going to be 10 thousands, but I add it to the 2, and now I've got 12. So now I have 12 hundreds, because that 100 hundreds would be my thousands. We're still going to go again. Can I have 1 piece of candy and give you 5? Or in this case, 1,000 pieces of candy and give you 5,000? No, can't do it. So what am I going to have to do? I'm going to unbundle. I'm going to unbundle from my 10,000. I'm going to come over here and borrow an entire 10,000. So that becomes now 3. This one is going to become 10,000 because that's a 10,000 plus the 1, because can't forget it, now gives me 11. Now can I have 30,000 and minus 60,000 from it? No, can't do it. So now I'm going to borrow again from my 1. And of course, if I borrow a 10,000, I now have 0 10,000s, but I add it here. So now I have 13. Well, that was 0 100,000. I'm sorry. Now I have 13 10,000. So I have borrowed all the way across or unbundled until I got to a problem where I could subtract it. Now we can simply do a subtraction. 11 minus 2, 11, 10, 9. So we're going to click in this box and we know it's 9. 14 minus 7, I know is a double. 7 plus 7 is 14. 12 minus 8, It's 4. 11 minus 5 is 6. Sure does make it easy when it's done for you. I know it gets a little confusing when you have to do it. 13 minus 6 is 7. Perfect. Okay.
Let's dive in now with this one. Start by reading the problem
Let's
carefully
let it finish.
and label a take diagram to represent it. Then choose the subtraction sentence that we need to solve.
Okay. So actually, what we're going to do now is stop. And that's going to be our first introduction video for the week. And we're going to continue in the second video at the same place, and we'll finish it, and then you'll have some problems to do on your own. So I will see you in the second video.